Back to the Men of Now podcast. We're really excited for this one today. We got a couple of awesome guests that we're going to be talking about what life is like after game. I know you might be coming to this channel, you're in the midst of your journey and you're like, hey, how do I even start going on dates, etc. But what's really important about this episode is that you get to a point where, things have to change and where it's like, okay, I can't just go, well, maybe you can, but I want something more out of my dating life. And that's what these guys are going to be talking about today. So as always, welcome the husband.
What's going on, brother?
Good to see you. And then my coach and mentor, Nick Jones from Australia. Welcome,
Hey, guys.
So appreciate you coming on, Nick, and it's great to introduce you and Alex together. And we're just going to dive right into it. So our first question for you, Nick, is how did your day game journey even begin?
Well, hold on. Let's back up for a second. Who the hell is Nick Jones? I want to hear his story.
That could be long. I'm old. So might get Joel. Just repeat your question. I think that might answer all of it. I'll have to forget the question.
Old man here. So kind of a combo of what Hudson and I had was who are you? Who are you? And then how did your day game journey begin? How did you even get into dating?
Okay, cool. So I might. Who am I? It's a more difficult question. But also I'll do the day game question, and then hopefully that'll I'll touch some of the other topics. So I was in my late 30s. I had 3 kids and a step kid, actually. So I got together with a woman when I was like 22. She was 21. She had a 9-month-old baby. And I became a stepfather, and my life was messy. We were using drugs and that, but I really did sort of bond with the baby and the child. And my dad died when I was 4, so having a baby, there was some healing there. And I got clean, and the mum got clean, and then we had kids, and I liked her a lot. And she was sexy enough to put up with a step kid. The step kid was actually pretty good though, but I wasn't really, I don't say in love. I did fall in love with another woman, but never left the mother of my kids, and that never sort of worked out. So I sort of like had this unrequited love my whole 30s. I was with the other woman a little bit, but not much. And so by the end of my late 30s, I got into, and I'd been in and out of a few relationships, fallen in love. Either they would love me and I wouldn't love them, or I would love them and they wouldn't love me. And so, yeah, I think I was about 38. I was in this other relationship, this whirlwind love affair with this woman. She was only a couple of years younger than me. So she was I'd known her for a long time, and she was quite hot. And again, she had a couple of kids. So I was like putting up with stepkids to obtain a hot woman. And then I noticed my neediness, and I noticed the repulsion that she showed towards that. And it was like, and then we separated, and I'm just like, I can't deal with this anymore. And I go, I've got to change. I can't be in a relationship with a woman with any value as I am now, because they become my best option. So then I'm just quite needy on them for sex and emotional affection and all that. I go, I need to be a much more independent man. So I go, all right, I've got to have this period being single. I've never been single in my whole life. I had girlfriends in high school, and then I met my kid's mum when I was, anyway. So, all right, period of being single, and we'll see what happens. And I was actually even considering being, I can't even say the word when you don't have sex. I thought I might even do that.
Yes,
I can't even say. But I gave up that idea after a week or two. And I thought, well, let's do some dating while I'm going to be single. So I read a book about dating, and then I discovered day game, and I go, no, this is my thing, because I didn't drink, so I didn't want to go to clubs. And I thought, my gosh, I can just walk around the streets and cafes and whatever and go and meet girls. So I thought, this is amazing. And there was a lot of there's day game coaches who will sell their services, so they do talk it up a lot. So I really I fell for a lot of that marketing stuff. which was just my journey, and that's fine. And then I think I read The Game, the book The Game, and they all had that house together. And I go, that's not a bad idea. And I recognised for day game I needed to be somewhere where it had like a decent population, like a reasonable city. And so Brisbane City had 2 million people with lots of international tourists and lots of international students, young international students, which I thought would suit me. And so I looked online. I found a 5-bedroom house right on the edge of the city, like a 20-minute walk into the CBD, with lots of population, anyway. And it wasn't that expensive, so I rented that. And I thought, I'm going to get other day gamers to move in and friends, and it's going to be awesome. This bachelor pad, and that didn't work out. Well, it did. It worked out, just not as I thought. I ended up having international students move in, and I actually made a profit on the rent. And I got the nice big front bedroom, and I had my house in the city. So I did heaps of day game. I worked from there. It was affordable, and it was hard. Like the grind, I was so bad at it, and I'm not sure how much the marketing and the day game literature helped me in the beginning. I think it might have harmed more than helped, but at least it motivated me. So maybe it helped because of the motivation. So I just did so many approaches and so many failures. And but I did start to have a bit of a dating life, and that's probably the end of the question. Yeah, that's probably the answer. Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. That's great, man. It's humble beginnings for sure. And I'm curious, like, what are some of those struggles you faced in your beginning journey?
I was so delusional that I could, with learning a skill from books and YouTube videos, that I could seduce. I'm an average looking 39-year-old guy, and I'm like, if I do this, I can seduce like smoking hot 21-year-olds. Like, this is awesome. This is the cheat code. Like, yeah. So, which is kind of funny. But then I thought maybe I'm going to fail at this. But I thought if I fail at this, I'll at least get better. And I'd already traveled Asia and saw how much more attractive I was in Asia. I thought, if I fail at this, at least it's going to improve my skills, and then I'm going to kill it in Asia. So that was my backup plan, which lucky I had a backup plan. And but yeah, it's just like the constant rejection. And there I am going, and I wasn't being very discerning at who I'd approach. If I thought they were hot, I'd approach them. And so I'm approaching all these hot. Well, I did start to change. I did start to find I had way more success with international students, and I actually was getting numbers and dates from them. But so I did start to bring my standards down a little bit. But yeah, as you guys know, just when you do it, the rejection after rejection after rejection, it is hard and very tiring and emotionally tiring. And yeah.
You've told that to me, man. You're like, yeah, Madison, where I'm from, I was from like a very liberal city, and you're just same thing. You're like, use this as training for when you get to the places where you are high value. And so that's I guess another follow-up question. Like, how do you find out where you are high value? Like,
ask Uncle Nick. I suppose Joel asked me that question. Well, I got to go to Warsaw, dude, because I remember being in Warsaw, and there was this. I saw one Asian girl the whole time I was there, and she was cute, but like she was like, there was a dime a dozen on the streets of Bangkok, but everyone turned their head at her. So I thought, yeah, I think Warsaw is the place. And then I suppose. So, but for me, it's pretty easy to work out. Like when girls start looking and smiling at you, that wouldn't happen in your home city. And it's like, yeah, so I just got to travel, I suppose. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Huds, you're more into the night game thing. So how did you find where you were most, desired?
Essentially, I went to Penn State, and it is one of those big party schools, and that's just what I learned. And so, like it's as simple as that. I was social chair of my fraternity, and I was organizing these parties and multiplying them out in ways that I never thought possible. And it just naturally came to me. So that's really why I ended up leaning into that.
Yeah, it's just so interesting hearing like, you both came from different sides, day game versus night game, and they're two completely different worlds. So, um, Huz, did you try any day game? And Nick, did you ever try any night game? How that?
Well, I'll go ahead and hop in first. Yeah, I've done day game plenty of times. When I think of day game, though, I tend to think of like going out and spending a few hours like hitting up people. Instead, I don't really think day game exists. It's just a normal thing to do when you see somebody attractive, you go and talk to them if you're interested in them. Like to me, there's no like separation. It's just like doing what you're supposed to do or doing what inherently in your core makes sense.
Mm.
So I don't really classify it that way. But yeah, no, I've done plenty of times meeting people without alcohol or a night scene or something like that.
How about for you, Nick? How was the night game life?
Yeah, I think there's probably there's a probably fundamental difference in personalities. I'm not sure how extroverted Huds is, but I'm going to assume he's more extroverted than me and much better at social dynamics and actually enjoys being around people. I don't mind being around people for about 30, 40 minutes, and then if I'm like one-on-one and that sort of thing. So and organising parties and like that's that makes my skin crawl. I just not into it unless I was rolling drunk, and then which something I did, and I just made a mess of myself, and I was like a bit of an embarrassment. So so I think that's probably, and to be honest, I think Hud's way is better if you can do it. Like it's pretty creepy being a really introverted and just going out and stalking students 20 years younger than you. But it's also effective, and it was just the way that it was the way I could get dates and get laid. So I just accepted that was who I was, and I was going to fail big time if I tried to do that sort of more social game. Yeah.
I was the same as you, Nick, like introverted. I know Huds, you do spend a lot of time like to yourself, but you have that more like ability to socialize like extrovertedly, I guess. And so, yeah, I was in a fraternity too. And I was the guy that just wanted to smoke weed and just not talk to anyone. So I really like day game as well, because I could just go about my day and do it. I'm kind of in the mix where like, I don't know if I would say I do designated sessions, but like if I'm out and about and I see someone like at the gym or something, I'll approach them. And then every once in a while I will say like, okay, I got to go to the mall for an hour and just walk around and get some numbers, because otherwise I'm going to, get rusty here. So yeah, it's definitely a journey. And, you laugh when you said it's a bit creepy when you put it logistically, like you're just going out and talking to a bunch of young girls, and but it's what you got to do. And I think a lot of that stops a lot of guys that not wanting to be creepy. However, the more you do it and the better the skills you get, it doesn't become creepy anymore. And then, but you have to go through that trial phase. So, okay. So yeah, I'm curious, Nick, you went through your journey, you started getting success. I know you went to Asia and found a lot of success there. When did you get to that point where you're like, I've had enough. I've done enough. I've mastered myself enough.
It's a good question. I do remember I was high on LSD. I was at the beach high on LSD, and I'm like, and I'd start, even though I'd been clean from all drugs and alcohol for years, but I did start to take psychedelics and smoke weed, and for the most part it was fine. But I was getting probably a little bit more unmanageable, and I was getting better at day game, and business was actually pretty good, so I could travel. So I'd go on these trips to I think it was mostly Thailand and Indonesia, so Bangkok and Jakarta, and and by that stage I knew who I was, and I knew what girls to approach, and so I was good at it. So I was and I had the abundance that I'd never had, or it was amazing, and I loved it, but it was also a bit addictive, and it was and I had daughters. My daughters were now they're 15 and 12. So this is probably 4 years ago or so. So however old that is, and I thought it's not a very good example to my kids. Like coming to Australia, like just because they would see different girls. Even when I was in Australia, I was still dating, and so they would see different girls come and go. And then when I'm over there, well, they didn't see that, but promiscuous is the word. I thought that's not really the best thing I should do. And then I thought, and you probably shouldn't be taking so many drugs at your age. Like you're sort of 40. I was 44 or 43. I was close to my 43rd birthday, and I'm on my own, tripping balls on the beach, and I'm thinking, you probably should get clean and get married. and I had friends and mentors, and I sort of thought about them, and I'm like, they're all clean and married, and they've got much younger wives, and wives that aren't addicts either. So I'm like, all right. And then so I did. So I made that commitment, and then there and then, so I woke up. I don't know if it was the next day I got clean, but very straight afterwards. Maybe it was the next day, and then I go, all right, we're going to look for a wife. And so instead of looking to just to seduce as many women as I could, now I'm interviewing for a wife, which I thought was a great way to frame it. And I changed my Tinder profile from the best Tinder profile I had was "I might just be your biggest mistake." And that was like really effective, and especially the girls I wanted. So I changed it from that to looking for a wife. And that was even way more successful. But I thought, lucky I didn't know that before I actually was looking for a wife, because that's a bit evil. So anyway, so I did looking for a wife, and I thought this is going to take a couple of years. This is going to be a fun couple of years. But I met my wife Ricky within, it was only a couple of months or something. And then a month after that, she was in Australia, and then COVID hit, so she was stuck here. She couldn't get home. Yeah,
man, that's amazing, man. It's like, yeah, you asked for it. Mother Lucy gave you a message, and you listened, and it's cool that it didn't take too long too. And I think, you've told me this story before. It sounds like, and I see this a lot, and the same with you, Hud, is like you have to go through that stage to get to the point where you can recognize when that person comes along that's going to be a match. And not only that, to where you can attract her. So Hud, same question to you. Like, when did you realize on your journey, hey man, it's time to stop hoeing around, basically?
Well, it was when the right person came along. Like, let's just say I've had experience, and I've met a lot of different people. I've had a lot of experience. And so essentially it was like when you realize that there was something more. I always wanted to have a family. I always wanted to move forward. But I also like flavor. I viewed it as Baskin Robbins. They got whatever it is, 34 flavors or something. And so I like to experience it all. I like to experience everything in life. And so it just got to a point where as time went on, it's like, all right, I've tried all flavors. Now, like, do I want to move on and pick my favorite? And that's kind of how it happened with me.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of the story you hear, right? Like you get to that point where you're just like, hey, I've had enough, and I'm ready to find someone that doesn't cause drama and stuff. I know one of the big, I guess, critiques and mistakes that a lot of guys make is it's called the first girl that touches your pee-pee. And basically they find a girl, and they have sex for the first time, and it's like, this is the one, and then they're locked in forever. Like, what do you guys think about that? Like, and overcoming that?
It's funny that you actually bring that up, because I was just thinking about it earlier. I was watching a video with my girlfriend that like somehow related to this. It was high school crushes, like, were meeting back up, and it's either like Truth or Shot. I think it's on like Jubilee or something. And it just was like funny to like see their interactions. And it made me think of Nat. Nat was well, I guess I'm putting her name out there, but nobody would be able to figure that out. Nat was the girl I lost my virginity to. And, I have thought about her here and there. And we had an unbelievable sex life. The first time we had sex, I thought I was gay, though, because wearing the condom and doing that experience was not as pleasurable as I thought it was supposed to be. But we ended up blossoming into an unbelievable sex life. And so then just thinking back to that, like there was always a way it could have worked, but it just didn't. And so but at the same time, I knew that she was never, and the reason why we broke up, I essentially gave her an ultimatum because our personalities did not align on certain values. So that's why it happened. And so, yeah, I think back on that, but at the same time, yeah, it didn't make sense. So yeah, I can think about the physical, but when I think about like the larger picture, never would have worked.
I was talking to Josh about that the other day. He's one of the guys in the Men of Now community, and he's just like, I was telling him about a date I went on, and he was like, it was pretty good. And he's just like, yeah, it sounds like it's like the right girl at the wrong time. And that kind of hit. Like, so I kind of go back and forth too. And I obviously talked to Nick a lot about this. Like, we've had a lot of conversations on, hey, what if I meet this chick and she's awesome and stuff? And what Yuki reminded me is like, you have to keep going, have to keep learning the seduction process and all that. And I actually do have that question for you guys. Like, why do you think guys need to go on this path of learning to seduce and learn how to date and stuff? And
I'll
Nick,
let you take that first, Nick.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a lot there. I actually think that marrying the first girl that you have sex with, and you both of you never having sex with anyone else, and growing old together, having kids, having grandkids, growing old, and being only with each other is a beautiful thing. I think that's probably the ideal, actually. I don't think it was available for me, because for that to happen, you already the man has to be, at least, I didn't have good enough parents or mentors to show me how to, like, my dad died, so maybe I could have been in that position, but once he died and I got a stepdad, and the way my mum and my stepdad interacted, like, that's how I was taught, and he was just this quite weak man, and so I had to go and teach myself. My dad wasn't there to teach me how to be a strong man and how to how to be a husband. So, and then there was also lots of other trauma and stuff. So I had to. So my teenage, we had money, but the teenage years was like an episode of Shameless, but with some money. Like, it was pretty wild, So it was all, yes, and all my friends were the same. I only chose friends from broken homes and all that. So, so for me, I had to go and learn, and it's harder to learn when you're an adult than when you're a kid. If you just watch your parents behave normally and you watch your strong father and your feminine mother, then yeah, it's probably okay. But for me, I had to go and learn the hard way as an adult, and for right or wrong, I just learned it through seducing lots of women and learning about different. And most of those women were broken too, because often from dysfunctional families, because that's who I attract and that's who is attracted to me. So it's pretty deep. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. Like, it's a good reminder. Yeah, a lot of it depends on where we come from, and one of my best friends I've told you about, he married the first girl he slept with, and they're together today. And like, yeah, it's pretty beautiful. I think most people are jealous of it, actually, because it worked. And he did come from a financially stable home. His parents were always together. Dad was pretty masculine, mom was pretty feminine. So it kind of makes sense why that worked out. Yeah, like same. I was saying the first guy I slept with, I remember being in the act, and I was just like, I kind of wish I would be watching porn right now. This is like, it's like, all
Wait,
right.
You're also gay?
What? I wanted that too for a while as well. So yeah, but yeah, it's an evolution. And Huz, I know you wanted to touch on D'Angelo's comment there.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and bring that up. Yeah, D'Angelo, I love that, because that's the truth. Truly, it sets the tone of how you'll see women until your heart breaks. That is so effing true.
Wow.
Because that's exactly what I experienced. Because I did really love Nat and the way that Nat treated me. And then later on, I got into some toxic relationships that ended up getting me arrested. And it was a very, very hard thing to struggle with, because I expected everybody, like, not everybody, every girl that I would date to act the same way that I was used to, but that was not the case.
Okay.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
And so I really think that first love, yeah, it does. It sets the tone of how you view women. Oh, look at that little one.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Yo, I'll meet you.
Trying to come and say hi. So I thought we should show life after game. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, in real life. Thank you.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it.
What's up, Nat? Yeah, she's gone. Okay. Yeah. That's really powerful, Huds. Yeah, that first relation does set the tone. And man, for me, it was the first girl I, fell for. Like, she was not into me at all. And I spent like 3 years trying to, pursue her. And it was only till I like got good at sports that she gave me a shot. But even though like she never was really into me, and like nothing ever escalated sexually and stuff, and it was just like I was with her for such a long time and passed up on so many relationships with girls that did want me, like sexually and all that. And so now I'm working. That actually really hit. Like, a lot of my journey now is learning that, like, okay, girls are into me. Like, not every girl I meet that goes on a date with me is actually just like, I'm just here because, out of pity or something. And so, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to undo for sure. Nick, question. I guess I'll transition that to you. What was the first love of your life, and how did that set the tone for the rest of your relationships?
Yeah, Faye. I won't say her last name. Was it? Oh, actually, there's probably someone I didn't sleep with that was before that. She was a nice girl. We could have. That's a funny story. So we were really close in high school, and I never really had the confidence to seduce her, I suppose, or to get things happening. And I would only ever have sex and be with women when I was rolling drunk. And because we weren't in the same sort of social circles, and she was she was more with the good kids, I was never in that position. But I knew she liked me, and we always sit together in class, and she'd always really flirt with me, and she really wanted me to, but I just couldn't save her in, like, when I was 14. The funny story to that is, ended up like when we're about 30. That's a too long a story anyway. And then there was my friend's cousin. I went there, and she was a year older than me, so I was about 15. She was about 16, and she was quite hot. And she took a liking to me, and I was drunk, so I could actually get together with her. And she had experience, and she was desired, and she was a manipulative bitch. And she just taught me all the wrong things. So yeah, she just worked me and manipulated me. And but the worst thing, like, it was a real lesson, because then after I separated with her, my high school dating was much better, because I used all these horrible techniques she used on me on the other girls. Yeah.
Teach you something, right?
That's from the best and the worst. Yeah.
That's what Jaren's teaching me here. He's like, dude, just do girl game, like, use it against him, and he'll like drive her nuts. Like, don't respond to him. Like, wow.
Yeah, just do the same things, and things start to go.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And you can do the same things in a positive way too. Like, I suppose that's part of the journey. And maybe you could get that without game. Maybe if your parents had a good relationship and you watched them, you'd learn to speak womanese, because you'd learn how your dad spoke to your mum. But my stepdad could not speak womanese, so I had to go out and learn it for myself. Just, and we all know now sort of what that sort of entails. Yeah.
Actually, for any new guys, give a little taste with that.
All right, how do you go first on that one? How do you speak womanese?
How do you speak womanese? Oh man. That is like so hard to like dive into. That's a very in-depth topic, but essentially, I'm trying to think of an example. But there's a covertness in things being said, and like, for example, okay, you know what? For example, I was literally sitting on the couch a little bit before this, and I was like, all right, like, what do you want to do until this stream happens? And it's just like, well, I don't know. And it's like, well, then I'm gonna put this on. And I was playing some of the Tomorrowland set, and it's like, I just don't really want that anymore. And it's like, well, then what do you want? And it's like, well, like,
Mm.
I don't know. And it's like, you have to lean into that understanding of like, she wants something from you. Dude, I bet you that probably what she wanted was for intimacy before this.
Mm.
That's probably what she meant, but she
Mm.
doesn't know how to articulate it. That's
Mm.
womenese. They want something, but they don't know how to directly express it. And so it's understanding that, where do you want to go to dinner? Oh, I don't know. Like it's essentially dropping a hint to what she actually wants. And if you know her, then you're going to be able to go ahead and provide that.
Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah, there's probably 100 points, so we can only cover a couple. But you said the word covert, so that's definitely one, especially sexually. It's and in the seduction processes, you need to be covert, not overt. I think I've told Joel that a few times. Yeah, and I suppose listen to everything they say, but be very skeptical of the actual meaning of the words. So it's more like how they say it, the hints they give. They're not guys. You don't take them literally. It's not that you don't listen to them, and maybe sometimes they will say something and mean it literally. So you can't ignore everything they say, but you just need to be a bit quite skeptical. And and it is. It's like a problem to solve. And I think also you were saying they won't. Not only can they not articulate what they want, but they don't want to because they want you to. They want to almost like a shit test where they want you to be able to read their minds. They must. I think there's some satisfaction out of that. So for
It
them.
shows competence. It shows
Yeah.
competence on your end.
Yeah.
Wow. God,
Yeah,
well,
they give you opportunities every minute to prove yourself as a man, and part of that is reading their minds, or at least their body language and meta expressions and that sort of stuff. Yeah,
man, we'll have to do a whole podcast on that. That's it's pretty powerful.
that is good.
Yeah, it's
Although a podcast, if people watching the podcast, you're not going to learn. You might learn a few things from us, but you've got to get out there and try it. If you're with a girl, you can only learn it from experience, I think.
Yeah, that is so true. That it's one of the things that we preach here is like, you can listen to whatever as much as you want, but unless you're actually doing it, you're never going to grow.
Yeah, it's called mental masturbation, when you just basically jerk off to YouTube videos all day and then wonder why there's no results. And I'll say I've done that for a long time, so I don't even listen to YouTube videos anymore. I just go out and do it. Now that being said, there's a period where it's really good to learn. So, take what I said with a grain of salt. Like if that's you right now, like don't feel bad. Like keep learning and stuff. But just like Nick said and Hud said, at some point it's like, okay, I gotta see if this actually works. Like,
dude, you just gotta figure it out. I mean, there's something I don't remember exactly right now. The exact point, but there's something that like you had said, Nick, of like reading their minds, and like sometimes you can just force situations. Like I've done such wild openers to girls and like completely like unacceptable, ridiculous openers, and everything works out at the end of it all. So it's learning yourself and then learning how to express yourself to the world.
Oh man, authenticity, right? Authenticity. Yeah. Yesterday I had a date and, we had our call and I was like half hour late, came down in shorts, hadn't showered in like a day, and it went great. It's just like, it didn't matter. I didn't have to like look GQ'd up or whatever.
You did the reverse. You did what they normally do to you.
Oh, there it is. Perfect. Oh man, that's so funny. So yeah, speaking of like, getting out there doing the work, I think it'd be a good time to announce that the Men of Now community is now live. And we had a little stream on this yesterday, and we're really excited to announce it that, we've created a place where you guys can come in and connect with guys from all over the world that have, expertise in all different areas, not just dating, but with finance, fitness, addiction and stuff like that. And it's just, a place to come and level up as a man, learn how to do the work. So Huds, do you want to speak on that a little bit as well?
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about it because like, honestly, like everybody's situation is different, and we can solve whatever problem that you're trying to solve. And it's just amazing to have guys come together. We have a intro webinar this Tuesday where everybody's going to come together. Everyone's going to meet each other, and we're going to set the direction of this rocket ship that we're essentially launching. So definitely get into that. I don't know if it's in the description, but yeah, if you have any questions on it, definitely hit me up or hit Joel up. It's going to be fantastic. You know, we'll probably have Nick on at one point to go ahead and do a entire presentation as well, because we're doing a presentation once a month, plus anything that the community wants, we're going to be doing as well. So it's going to be just like a ton of information, and we get to level up together, and that's what's so exciting about it.
I did want to invite you as well, Nick, that you're here. If you'd like to, come on in, and love to have you be a part of it and share wisdom. It's not addiction videos, so it won't bore you to death. Nick's told me so many times. He's like, yeah, I'm like, hey, I got a new live stream. He's like, I just can't watch them. They're so boring. I'm like, fair. Unless you're like,
but that's what's so amazing about it. It's the same issue that I deal with. Is when I work with clients, all of a sudden they start having success, and then they don't need me anymore. It's the same thing. He doesn't need sobriety coaching anymore, because we get you to the other side, and then you can truly live your full life.
Yeah. We both, Hudson and I both tell that to our coaching clients. Like, we want you out as fast as possible. Like, learn what we can give, and then you're on your own. Like, we don't want to, hold you hostage forever. Being said, though, having a mentor long-term, I think, is very important. And, this is why this episode means a lot to me, because Nick has been a great mentor to me, and Hud's a lot of we've had a lot of tense moments, but I think a big part of why the moments haven't totally imploded is because I had a chat with Nick here to the left. So,
Thank you, Nick. This guy can get emotional and explosive.
I forgot the relationship we've had, actually, because we should know each other quite well. We've never met. Yeah, and I should say too, we agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Funny. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
I do want to pop this in here. So Rage, it's not the 1st of November, but it's very shortly thereafter. We need to, I guess, because it's the 13th, it's probably going to be after the 12th. So if you are saving up cash or whatever else to go ahead and join, you've got a little bit of time. It's not going to be the 1st of November, but it's going to be shortly thereafter.
Yeah, and we said yesterday, like, it's Chipotle is like $15 now to get a good meal. That's like 3 times not going to Chipotle. It's like very doable. I spent $48 on socks before I came to Mexico here. So,
where are you buying your socks?
Target, actually. cheap socks. One of our first streams was Style. And I get the no-show socks. So, quick Style tip. Super cheap at Target. If you go like Express for Men, it's like 5 pairs for like $40. It's crazy. Anyway, side tangent. Coming back to, investing in yourself is very important, and something that's really helped me take my stuff to the next level. I haven't always made the wisest investments, but I've learned now to, and as Nick has been teaching me, to use my money wisely. And we really think this is going to be a wise investment for you to come join the community and get the help you need, and connect with other people. You never know who you'll meet and who might be by your side 10 years from now doing something absolutely wild. And I met Jaron, for example, on the internet, and I invited him on a live stream. I booked him for a coaching call, and now I'm living with him. It's just like, it's hard to put into words. It's absolutely crazy. So I know we have a few more people that have joined. So to finish it up, I'll give you guys a little bit of something. How about a couple tips from each of you on some things you can do right now to improve your dating life and get to that point where you have the freedom to make the choice of whether to get in a long-term relationship or stay out in the field and just keep having fun? Nick, we can start with you. Feel free to dive in.
So like we spoke about before, my experience is because my personality type is going to be different from HUD, and my age too when I started. So I can only talk about myself. So if you're like in your late 30s and you're really introverted and like I was, and and you want to change, you want to be able to be better with women. What I did was I read a lot because I'm introvert and I like reading. So I read a lot, and but I supped and I did a lot of day games. So I read, and I was in a financial position to be able to pretty much do it full time for a couple of years, well, at least part time. And so I would read, everything around my life was devoted to it because I knew the clock was ticking. Like I knew age is a factor. I was going to get anyway. And so I learnt the theory, and then I went out and practiced the theory, and I got really humbled and have a mental breakdown and come home and have a rest and then get up and do it all again the next day. And eventually the mental breakdown stopped and it was just a lot easier.
Nice. Mental breakdowns, man. Part of life. Huds to you.
Yeah, the best thing that I think that anybody can do, whether you are an extrovert or an introvert, is to go out solo. That is my favorite thing in the world, and that's really what broke me down but built me up when I was rebuilding myself in 2017. And so when you do that, you have nobody to rely on except for yourself. So when you're going out to do something like that, giving yourself the affirmations in the mirror beforehand, like you get dressed up, you feel good, you think you look good, and then saying to yourself, all women like me. All women like me. All women like me, or want to be with me, whatever, however you want to phrase it. But the purpose of doing that is you're essentially looking at the man in the mirror, which is you, and you are coaching them that they can succeed. And then you go out and you may fail, but at least you did it. And what are your friends doing? What are others in your life doing? And that's what I found, is that a lot of my friends at that time that I was really doing that, they weren't doing anything. And so it's like, I'd hit them up. Hey, are we going out tonight? Are we doing this? And they're like, yeah, I got to cancel. And it's like, well, I can't rely on them. I have to rely on myself. I am my own best friend. And by doing that and having those experiences, you end up having like some of the craziest stories. I'm not going to go into the one that's coming to mind right now, because that probably should be behind a paywall. But it's stuff like that is just it really pushes you forward. And I think that relying on yourself and then affirmations, those are the two things I would say.
Cool. That's great advice, and I'm going to do that before we went out tonight for sure.
I might reinforce that. Those crazy experiences. I only did day game, but I'll do day game at night too. And just, it's wild. Like you go out and you just go for a walk, open to meeting people, and the craziest things do happen. And and that's what does spur you on.
Dude, not too long ago, I think I told this story before in a show, but not too long ago, I ended up getting on a raft and going into the middle of the Baltimore harbor. And then I went on a houseboat. And then on our way back, we ended up meeting random people and we got to go on their yacht. And I'm like, we were just supposed to go to the bar, but now I was in the middle of the harbor on a little dinghy. And then I went to a houseboat, and then I went to a yacht, like all just by being me. Like, it's wild.
Yeah, it's so wild. Like, I wouldn't have met you two if it wasn't for day game and learning how to approach strangers. You guys were both strangers not too long ago, and I was just like, what? Worst case is they don't like me, right? So I think those are my tips too. Like, you got to go out there, get the rejections, get the no's, go for no. There's a good book called Go for No. And I haven't read it, but all I needed to read was the title, and I'm just like, oh, okay, I get what they're saying. Like, just every setback is set up for a greater comeback. That's my one affirmation I've been saying to myself. And yeah, dude, you'll never know the crazy, absolutely crazy. I just say the other day I went out. I had no desire to approach him. I'm like, I gotta go, just go do it. Had a great time, and now I have a bite on my lip. So, never know what'll happen. It's absolutely wild. And I would say too, find a mentor if that's something you're into. Look for somebody that can help you save 10 years of your life. Like, people have gone through it, so you don't have to. And the things I've learned from Nick here, And probably if we were looking at this from a financial perspective, I owe you a lot of money because you've saved so many years. I mean, it's way more than that, of course, but yeah, and now I get to give it back to others. So just finding some support, finding something that can help is gonna be really great. And then one more I would say too is to remember that like no one girl is gonna make you happy. Like it's gonna be fun. You're gonna have crazy highs, crazy dopamine hits, and serotonin spikes. But at the end of the day, you're always gonna be back by yourself once the girl leaves, and then you're in your apartment or your house again. So the more you can learn to be okay with yourself and who you are, the better I think you're gonna feel at the end of the day, and the more attractive you'll be to women too, because they'll know that you're not desperate or pining for them. So with those tips, I think we're gonna call it a wrap. Thanks everybody who came in today. Rage, D'Angelo, great to see you as always, and we'll be back for sure. Again, sobriety Men of Now community. By the way, the Jack Sparrow. I love it.
I love that. Be the Jack Sparrow of your own story. You guys are awesome. You're awesome too, man. I am so excited to see where things are going to go.
Although be careful because the guy who played Jack Sparrow got into a lot of trouble with women. So,
Yeah, but he got out safe. He got out safe. He won.
Yep. The girl shits in your bed. Take a picture. That's the
moral of this entire.
Oh man. All right, guys. Great having you. Great seeing you. And we'll talk to you next week.